Good morning. I'm Gerry from BereanNation.com. So this morning's topic is blessings and cursings. If you read through the Old Testament at all, and you should as a Christian, because it forms the foundation of the New Testament, you'll read a lot about blessings and cursings, and if you've been following along in our weekly Bible studies for some time, at least, if you've gone through the notes on Berean Nation in Galatians, you'll see that the cutting of the covenant always involved blessings, which would happen at the completion of the covenant, or cursings, which is what would happen if the covenant was broken. And there was a time in my life where I simply would not have read the curses. My eyes would have scanned over them. I would have even made notes about them, I think. But my brain simply would not have absorbed the material. There was so much I didn't understand. And worse, I think my thinking in this area was actually framed by the fellowship I was a part of at the time, which was actually a personality cult under the leadership of a fellow by the name of George Geftakis. Now, before you go and Google that name, he was a half-decent preacher, sort of, most of the time, kind of, except for later on, where things became less and less clear, and some of us thought maybe he was just getting old, and it turned out that he was actually allowing the sin of immorality in his life, and he would not step down, and that actually shattered an international fellowship. Anyway, the whole point of my saying that is I had a lot of spiritual abuse in that place by so-called shepherds that were trying to cram me into a mold that I was never designed to fill. As you can see from my videos that I've been posting pretty much every day for the last month or so, I don't think I'm designed to be a follower. I'm not. I don't know how else to explain that. That doesn't make me a leader either, but I'm not designed to follow somebody else's footsteps. And so, this morning in my meditations, I was reading in Jeremiah chapter 12. And, here it is. Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 10, it says, "Many shepherds have ruined my vineyard. They have trampled down my field. They have made my pleasant field a desolate wilderness." Those shepherds ruined the vineyard by trampling down the vines and leaving it desolate. The Levitical priests, those who were in charge of the sacrifice, and the rulers of the people, those who were in charge of the administration of the kingdom, they were supposed to lead the people and instead abused their charges. In verses 14 to 16 it says, "Thus says the Lord concerning all of my wicked neighbors who strike at the inheritance with which I have endowed my people Israel. Behold, I am about to uproot them from their land, and will uproot the house of Judah from among them. And it will come about that after I have uprooted them, I will again have compassion on them, and I will bring them back, each one to his inheritance, and each one to his land. Then, if they will really learn the ways of my people to swear by my name as the Lord lives, even as they taught my people to swear by Baal, they will be built up in the midst of my people. But if they will not listen, I will uproot that nation, uproot and destroy it, declares the Lord." The Lord talks here about uprooting those who would strike at the inheritance of Israel, and that Judah was going to be uprooted from among them. Well, there's a whole lot of uprooting going on, and I just would have glazed over all of that. But after all that uprooting, and this is the part I would have paid attention to, He will have compassion and bring them all back to the inheritance. And in my, what I've come to term as brain damage theology, I would have read, he will bring compassion and bring Judah back to their inheritance. But that's not what the passage says. It says he's going to bring them all back to their inheritance, and if those who had led Israel and Judah astray would learn the ways of the Lord's people and learn to do things God's way, God would build them up within the nation of Israel. And that's what the text actually said. He even offers a choice, learn to live by God's law. You'll be allowed to stay in Judah, or don't. And don't. The thing that I really remember from those days about Jeremiah chapter 12 was actually earlier here, where it says in verse 5, if you have run with the footmen and they have tired you out, how can you compete with the horses? If you fall down in a land of peace, how will you do in the thicket of Jordan? Now, this was, what I remember is that this meant you had to develop your spiritual stamina. That's what was taught. What it actually is an address by Jeremiah to God in his prayer. God, this is what you told me, but even my family, in the very next verse, is, dealing treacherously with me, even though they're saying nice things about me. More brain damage theology, because the next section and the bit about the shepherds ruining the vineyard actually comes as part of God's response. I had, when I left this place, to learn how to read the scriptures by myself and not adopt somebody else's opinions on what they meant. And my encouragement to you today is to do just that. Do not believe a word that Gerry Brinkman says. Get yourself a Bible. I recommend the New American Standard because it is the most accurate to our English language today. And read it for yourself. If you have to understand parts of it and you don't, Matthew Henry's Complete Commentary on the Bible is a great commentary tool. There are other ones that I've read and used consistently when I'm preparing for ministry. William Barclay's Daily Bible Studies. He's gone through pretty much the entirety of the New Testament. Really wonderful stuff, although a bit dated. So learn to do this yourself. This is not part of American Christianity, by the way, where you have to be self-sufficient and stand on your own 2 feet and deal with your own issues. That's actually a load of bunk. But this is learning how to learn what it says and make up your own mind about what it means. Have you ever heard the phrase, that's your interpretation? I hear it all the time, specifically from one particular pastor. And a lot of times what he's saying is, that's not my interpretation, and I don't want to tell you my interpretation because I don't have a scriptural leg to stand on. You're right, that's my interpretation. It's also not just my interpretation. There are other people who have interpreted it this way in the past, and I'm getting my stuff from them. What's your interpretation, sir? Anyway, I think if you can learn to read it yourself intelligently and make up your own mind about what it means, you're going to be a lot further ahead than I was for 18 years. Don't waste your time. Study the scriptures daily to see if these things are so. I'm Gerry. This is Berean Nation. God bless you.